the tree, a universal symbol of all the world religions that have come from God. Roots hidden beneath the soil, the same way our spiritual reality is rooted in the spirit world. Yet the tree showing above ground as our material presence on this planet appears with other cultures and groups of people throughout the world. A world today torn by war. But all the religions have prophesied a time when the forces of light would win out over the forces of darkness, and the true spiritual nature of man, from the real roots of what human beings are about, would shine forth and bring forth that bountiful fruit of the tree of life spoken of in the book of Revelation. 12 kinds of fruit. One of these being universal peace on earth. Buddha himself was said to have been enlightened under the Bo tree in India. The Scandinavians talk about the tree Yggdrasil with 9 worlds on it. The Jewish mystics, the Kabbalah tree with 9 divine manifestations of God. The ancients talked about these 9. The Balungtung Yakti, the 9 lords of time of the Mayans and the South American continent. The avatars in India representing these 9. And on the Kabbalah tree with the 10th one being the land that the tree is rooted in, or the Kalki avatar. This is a universal statement that has deep spiritual meaning and truth for all people. And yes, the seeds of peace have been planted, and now if only the tree of justice could bear its fruit, mankind would be saved from these disastrous and ruinous wars and conditions we're faced in today.
The tree of life, a medicine for this sick world. He who eats of the tree itself, it states, will live forever and ever. Not eating of the fruit of the tree, but eating of the tree itself. It is mentioned in the Bible as man's fall from innocence in Genesis, and has his reunion with God in Revelation. It is also spoken of in the scriptures of the East, such as the Bhagavad Gita, the Song of God. The Blessed One said, "With roots aloft and branches below, the eternal tree of life, they say, whose leaves are the hymns. Who knows it, he knows the teachings. Below and upward extend its branches, nourished by the strands. With the objects of sense as sprouts, below also are stretched forth its roots, resulting in actions in the world of men. Its form is not thus comprehended here in this world, nor its end nor beginning nor basis. This tree of life, with its firmly grown roots, cutting with the stout axe of detachment." In Revelation it mentions the 12 fruits of this tree, which are likened to the same 12 foundation stones of the divine city of New Jerusalem, and represent the 12 basic Baha'i principles that the kingdom on earth can be summed up in, and these 12 fruits are the deeds of the people within the kingdom. The first basic principle is the oneness of the world of humanity. Hands may be black, white, yellow, or red, but the hue of the heart is one. This is the essential foundation of the oneness of the family of man, and all the other basic principles of the 12 serve to uphold this primary principle. In order to have this oneness of humanity, we have to respect and uphold the independent and unfettered investigation of the truth. All people must see truth with their own eyes, and not through the eyes of their neighbor. The third principle is religion is progressive, all having a common foundation. The fourth basic principle is religion was given by the Creator to be the source of unity, not to create division. And we find, in fact, that all of the religions have their common foundation in the same one reality of the infinite invisible essence, which created the universe and everything in it. The fifth basic principle is that true science and true religion must correspond. If they don't, in the minds of men, then one of them or both of them is wrong, and we must re-look at the reality of things, for the creator of the physical universe has created this in harmony with spiritual truth and reality as well. The sixth basic principle is the equality of men and women. Like 2 wings of a bird, if one of these wings is broken, the bird would be unable to fly. Both men and women must have these equal rights within our civilization upon the planet Earth. The seventh basic principle is removal of prejudice of all kinds, racial, religious, scientific. We cannot have preconceived ideas, for these are things that veil us from the truth, and even from the truth of God Himself. The eighth basic principle, universal peace upheld by a spiritual world government. In order to have the family of man universally throughout the world, we need to have a system that's spiritually founded, with people working within it that themselves are spiritual, that will foster this unity amongst all the people. The ninth basic principle is universal compulsory education. All people throughout the world must have the opportunity to become educated to a universal curriculum, learning the same ways to find the truth and to self-educate themselves through the tools of reading and writing. The 10th basic principle is a spiritual solution to the economic problem, based upon the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. The 11th principle is a universal auxiliary language, that all mankind may share their thoughts and feelings through a universal language, but it would be an auxiliary one, so the native languages of each culture would be preserved, for in that is the diversity of the peoples. The 12th basic principle is the universal house of justice, with a Davidic king, a descendant of King David, as its president. This is spoken of in the book of Isaiah as the house of the Lord, that all the nations will flow to, and beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks, and nation will not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war any more. Through the education of the people to these 12 basic principles, the divine civilization will be established forever on earth as it is in heaven.
These 12 principles sum up the revelation of Baha'u'llah and are peculiar to the Baha'i Faith. Baha'u'llah fulfills prophecy for the second coming of Christ in the potency of the everlasting Father seated upon the throne of King David that's promised to come. Like Jesus, Baha'u'llah is a descendant of King David, but unlike Jesus, every single one of Baha'u'llah's ancestors is seated on the throne of King David. Baha'u'llah's father sat on the throne of King David, his grandfather sat on the throne of King David, his great-grandfather, all the way back to David himself. For the majority of the people of the world, this tree and eating of the tree itself means accepting the 9 divine revelators of the Adamic cycle: Adam, Moses, Krishna, Zoroaster, Buddha, Jesus, Muhammad, the Bab, and Baha'u'llah. Baha'u'llah tells us if we truly accept any one of them, we accept all 9. And if we reject any one of them, then we've rejected all of them. For Baha'is, eating of the tree itself means accepting the book of Baha'u'llah's covenant entitled the Kitab-i-Ad, and the addendum to it, the sacred will and testament of Abdu'l-Bahai. In the will and testament, Baha'u'llah's universal house of justice is delineated, where the descendancy and throne line of David is continued as the president's, today with the great-grandson of Abdu'l-Bahai seated on that throne, so we can recognize the universal house of justice today from fakes, frauds, and imitations. Those who separate from the living Davidic king have separated from the covenant and are outside of the kingdom, even as those that would reject any of these 9. Today we have the second coming of Christ in the person of Baha'u'llah, and all the world can rejoice, for God has sent it the answer to our prayers.
Say, is there any remover of difficulties, save God, say.